So, welcome to this tutorial, and we're going to be answering the following questions. And these questions are centered around the parabola. So, we are being taught to find the vertex, focus, and directrix of the parabola. So, first of all, we must note that the standard equation for this parabola, that is, when we're dealing with a parabola that is in the x-axis, the standard equation is just going to be written as, that is, y minus k squared is equal to 4c, and then we have x minus h, like that. And then when we are dealing with the parabola that is in the y-axis, then we're going to have that our equation will be x minus h squared is equal to 4c, then that is y minus k, where h comma k is the center, or is the vertex for your parabola. Okay, and then when we have it centered, when our vertex is just 0 comma 0, our parabola equation is just reduced or simplified to when we're in the x-axis, that would be y squared is equal to 4cx, like that. And then when we are in the y-axis, it's going to be x squared is equal to 4cy. Okay, so this is what they simplify to when we have it centered at 0 comma 0. Okay, so first of all, let's start now. So to start with, we have the first question, that is y squared is equal to negative 6x. So here we see that ours is centered at what? 0 comma 0. So we have it centered at 0 comma 0 because it's taking the form, this one here. So we need to get a 4 there. So we factor out a 4 to 4 there, and then that means we're just dividing this negative 6 here by what? By 4, which gives us negative what? 3 over 2, such that when we multiply, we get back what? The negative 6. So we get this here. Okay, so meaning that our c, in this case, our c is going to be negative what? Negative 3 over what? Over 2. Okay, so how does this help us? So what we need now, so the vertex now, for this question, we already identified that the vertex is at what? 0 comma 0. And then now we need the what? We need the focus. So the focus, when the equation is at 0 comma 0, is going to be given by the formula that is c. If it's in the x-axis, that is c comma what? Comma 0. Then if it's in the y, then it will be 0 comma c. Okay, so since we're dealing with the one which is in the x-axis, meaning we're going to follow that there. That's therefore our focus is going to be, our c is what? Is negative 3 over 2. So it will be negative 3 over 2 comma what? Comma 0, since it's in the x-axis. And then our directrix. So directrix, when we're dealing with it in the x-axis, it's going to be x is equal to negative c. So it will be x equal to negative c. And in our case, this means we have negative there, and then negative 3 over 2, which gives us 3 over 2 there. So we have all that we what they're asking for. The only next thing is to what? Is to sketch. So let me write them here. So our vertex is at 0 comma 0, and then we have our focus at negative 3 over 2 comma 0, and then we have the directrix. Directrix, I just write d at x is equal to 3 over 2. Okay, so the only thing we're left with is just what? To sketch. So we have that this is going to be, that's there is my y-axis, and then I have my x-axis like that. Okay, another thing that we must note is that the negative sign that is in front of that value there. So if you have a negative there, that negative is showing us the direction in which our parabola is going to face. So yes, it is the x-axis, but then that negative shows us it's going to face towards the negative direction. So that means when our vertex is at 0, so it's just going to pass through the origin. So I have it coming here and then just like that. So this here is going to be my parabola. Then we need the directrix. We said it's at 3 over what? 3 over 2. So that's being somewhere there, which is just like 1 point something. So this is x equal to 3 over 2. And then on the just on the other opposite side, there we have negative 3 over 2. That's going to be our focus at negative 3 over 2, comma what, comma 0, like that. And we would have what? We would have sketched. All right, let's move on to the next question. So for the next question here, we have the question, we have the equation that's 4y is equal to x squared minus 2x plus what? Plus 5. Okay, so first of all, we need to get this one into what? Into the standard form for us to be able to what? To sketch, or for us to even find the vertex, the focus, or the directrix. So standard form, I'm going to add to complete the square here. So I'll write this x squared this side minus 2x plus 5 is equal to what? To 4y. So I need complete the square on the x. So this will be x minus 1 squared minus 1 plus 5 is equal to 4y. Okay, so here it's just 1 because when we negative 1 squared just gives us 1. So you have x minus 1 squared. You add the 2, you get that to be plus 4 is equal to 4y. Then I can take the 4 the other side. So I have x minus 1 squared is equal to 4 plus 4y. And this here is going to be x minus 1 squared, which is equal to, factor out the 4, and then I'll just have 1. Okay, so this gives me a negative. So just to back up a little. Okay, so let's back up a little. Okay, just here. So we said x minus 1 squared. So the 4 goes the other side, it becomes negative. So you have 4y minus 4. And then this will be x minus 1 squared equal to, factor out the 4. Then I'll have, this will be y minus 1. Okay, so from here now, I need to get my c, but I already have my c because I have the 4 in front. So you want the 4 to be there according to the standard form. So the 4 is there, and then that means our c is just what? 1, and then you have y minus 1 there. So for us now to get our vertex, meaning I equate this part that has x, that will be x minus 1 to 0, which just gives me x equal to 1. And then I equate the other part, which is there, that is y minus 1 equal to 0. And then I'll have y equal to 1. Therefore, my vertex is just going to be at 1, comma 1. And then the next here, I have to get my c. I already found my c, which is just, and so my c is 1. So therefore now I need to get the vertex, I need to get the focus. So here, what you do is you identify in what axis is it. So the y without the square is this side. So it means we are dealing with the y-axis. So we're dealing with the y-axis. So you always check which one does not have the square. The one which does not have this square here, like in our case, the y doesn't have a square there. It means we're dealing with that axis. So we're dealing with the y-axis. So what you do now, you get the c, and then you always add to the y, what coordinate of the y point, or the y coordinate of the vertex. So you have the 1 there for the x will remain the same. Then you get the 1 plus you add the what? The c. So you add your c to the what? To the y coordinate there, of which in our case is just 1. And then you have that our focus is going to be at 1, comma 2. So that's how you get your focus. Then the directrix, I'll say D, since we're dealing with the y-axis, meaning it's going to be in the y, is going to be equal to. So for it, instead of adding, you subtract. So you say the 1 that you get there minus your what? Your c, which is 1. And then this here gives you what? 0. So I write them here that our vertex v 1, comma 1 there, and then you have our focus, which is at 1, comma 2, and then you have your directrix, which is just at y is equal to 0. And y is equal to 0 is just the what? The x-axis. So now you can what? You can sketch, since you have all that you need, so you can sketch. Okay, so, and then when we had completed the square here, just here, let me bring it back, there, you see that we have no negative here in front, or even there, the C, we don't have a negative, so it means it's going to face the what? The positive direction in the y-axis. Okay, now we can sketch. All right, so this here is just going to be, let's draw our axis there. So drawing our axis like that, we have the y-axis and then we have the x-axis there. So now is this going to be? So our directrix is at y equal to 0, that is this line here, which is just the what? The y-axis, the x-axis, I mean. So this here is y equal to 0, and then we have our vertex at 1, 1. So I'm going to say 1 in the x-axis is there, 1 in the y-axis is somewhere there. So you have it like that. And then we know it's in the y-axis, so it's facing up, and then that's going to pass there, turn there, and then go that way. And then you have that our focus is at 1, 2. So 1 there, and then in the y, 2, let's say our 2 is there, so that is going to be somewhere here. So we have our focus there at 1, 2. Okay, so this is how we sketch. Let's move on to the next. So the next there, we just have, so this y squared is equal to, okay, so that's y minus 4y minus 4x equal to 0. So again, we complete the square. Now on the y, so this is going to be y minus, you have the coefficient of y, that's going to give us 2, then square minus, so negative 2 squared is just going to give us 4, and then you have your minus 4x remain there equal to what? To 0. And then I can take these other components the other side, or the other terms, I mean. Then we just have, this is 4x minus 4. And then you have y minus 2 squared is equal factor to 4, and you get x minus 1. And this here is going to just give us, now y minus 2 squared is equal to, I have the 4 there, and then it just means my c is what? Is 1. So that's x minus 1 there. Okay, so now the x is the one without the square this time, so it means we are dealing with the x what? The x-axis. And then our c is equal to what? To 1. Then I can find my vertex, that is by equating that and equating that to 0. So when I equate x minus 1 to 0, I just get that x is equal to 1. And then I equate y minus 2 to 0, I get y is equal to 2. Therefore, our vertex is going to be at 1, 2 there. Okay, then next I have my focus. I need to find my focus. Since we're dealing with the x, it means, so I'll add my what? My c to the what? The x component. So this will be 1. We have the 1 there, and then we add the c. So the c is 1 also, so I add 1 and then 2. So this here just gives me 2, what? 2. So my focus is going to be at 2, 2 there. And then I go to my directrix, which is in the x-axis. So this will be x. Then so it means now for this one, we do the opposite. Instead of adding, here we subtract. So it will be 1 minus 1, which just gives us 0. So our directrix, I say D, is going to be x equal to 0, which is just the y what? The y-axis. Okay, now we sketch. So sketching, we're just going to have like that there and then there. Okay, so our vertex is at 1, 2. So I have, let's say my 1 is there, and then I have my 2 there. So we have it there. That's my vertex, and then that means I'm gonna go that way and go that way. So my focus is at 2, 2, which is just there. So I'll say focus there at 2, 2. Okay, and then you have your directrix being this line, which is the y-axis. So this is the y-axis, and this line is just x equal to what? To 0. So x-axis. So this is how you'd have that sketched. Okay, let's move on to the next question. So the next one is you have x squared plus 4x, then you have plus 4y minus 4 equal to 0. So here again, we complete the square on the x. So this is going to be x plus 2 squared, and then minus, you square the what? The 4 there. I mean the 2, you get 4, and then you have plus 4y minus 4 equal to 0. So you can add the negative. This will give you -8. Let's take everything, every term apart from that involving x, the other side. That means we are gonna have 8. That will be 8, and then so the -8 becomes positive, and then you have -4y inside. And then I can factor out a 4 there. So I'm going to have x plus 2 squared is equal to, I have 4, I factor out 4, there I have 2 minus what? Minus y. Okay, and this here is going to give me some x plus 2 squared. So since I have a 4 there, then it means my 1 comes there, and then I have 2 minus y, like that. Okay, so this here is going to be my factored out standard form of this equation. So now to get there, I need to get the vertex. So my c here is 1. So I need to get the vertex. So I equate that and that to what? To 0. So when I equate them to 0, I just get x is equal to -2, and then I get y is equal to 2. So this means that I'm going to have my vertex at -2, 2. Have it at -2, 2. Then I need to find the focus. So we're dealing with the what? Y-axis. So it means that I'm going to add in the what? In the coordinate that is in the y. So I'll have 2. So there's 2, and then I add the what? I add the 1. So that will be plus 1. And there I'm going to get my focus to be at -2, 3. So our focus there is going to be at -2, what? 3. And then the directrix. So the directrix is going to be the y-axis. So instead of adding, we subtract. So we get 2 minus 1, which just gives us 1. So our directrix is just y equal to what? To 1. And then now we can sketch. Okay. So our sketch is going to be there. So we're dealing with something that is in the what? In the y-axis. And then like that. So my the vertex is going to be at -2. So let's say -2 is there, -2, what? 2, and our 2 is there. So we have it there like that. Okay, and then this here, it's facing up because we had no negative in front there as we had completed or wrote the standard form. So this is going to be just there and going like that. Okay, so this here will give us that we are going to have, and then we have our focus. Let's not forget our focus. That is at, so let's say we have our -3 there. So that's not negative, positive. And then we have 2 there. So that is going to be at -2, what? 3. Then we have our, let's say we have our 1 there. So that means our directrix is going to be passing through there. And then you have that is at y is equal to 1. Again, sketched like that. That's your y-axis, that's your x-axis. Okay, 2 more questions for us to complete this set. So let's do that, and then we move to another concept. So we have y squared is equal to plus 6y plus 8x plus 25 equal to 0. So complete the square on x, on the y, I mean. So you have 1 plus half there. We have 3 squared minus 9. 3 squared is just 9. And then you have plus 8x, then plus 25. So this will be -9 plus what? The 25. So -9, so that will be 25 minus 9, which gives us 16. So I take them the other side. So I have y plus 3 squared. So remember, I got a positive what? So by adding this and that, I got positive 16. So I take the other side, they become negative. So I'm going to have 8, negative 8x minus 16. Then here I can factor out what? A uh, negative 8. So I factor out that negative 8. I'm going to have x there, and then I'll plus what? Plus 2. So x plus 2 there. Okay, so now to get the standard, it means I have to what? Factor out a 4 there. So that will be y plus 3 squared is equal to factor out of 4, and then I just have negative 2 there. And then x plus what? 2. Okay, it's in the standard form. So from here, we know that it's going to be in the x axis. We're dealing with the x-axis. So this negative here, or that negative that we got, shows us that our parabola is going to face the negative what direction. So now to get, so our c in this case is negative 2, negative 2. Okay, and then to get the vertices, or the vertex, I mean, we put that and that's to what? To a 0. And then we get our vertex is just going to be centered at negative 2, comma, negative, comma, negative 3. Okay, so that's our vertex. Then what's our focus now? So our focus, we are in the x-axis. So I get negative 2, and then we are going to add our value to the what? To the negative, that mean to the x coordinate there, like that. So this here is going to give me negative 4, and then you have negative 3. So our vertex is just negative 4, comma, negative what? 3. Okay, notice that like the y coordinate is not changing here, and that is going to be cardinal for the next question, set of questions that we're going to watch to answer. Okay, then our directrix, which is in the x-axis. So for it, we said instead of what? Adding, we are subtracting. So we get the negative 2 and we subtract the what? The c. And our c is just negative 2. So this will be negative 2 plus 2, which gives us 0. So our directrix is just x is equal to what? X equal to 0. That's our directrix. Now we sketch. Okay, so we're going to have that this is going to be there. That's my y-axis, and then I have my x-axis there. So what is this then going to be? We centered at negative 2, comma, negative what? 3. So let's say my negative 2 is here, and I have my negative 3 somewhere there. So let's say we have that there. So this here is going to be there, and then it's in the x, so it's facing the negative direction. So we're going to have that this is going to be going that way, like that. So, and then we have that our focus is at, so let's say negative 4 is there, negative 4, so we have it there, which is at negative what? 4. So focus be negative 4, comma, negative what? 3. And then our directrix is just going to be this line. Y is equal to what? Y is equal to 0. And y is equal to 0 is just the what there? X equal to 0. X equal to 0 is just the what? The y-axis. Okay, so we're done with this one. So the last question for this part. So the last one says, we sketch y squared minus 2x plus 8y plus 9 equal to 0. Again, we complete the square on the x, that will be x minus 1 squared minus 1. And then you have plus 8y plus 9 equal to 0. So I add that and that there, I just get 8. So that will be x minus 1 squared. They go the other side, then I get negative y minus 8. And this gives me x minus 1 squared is equal to, factor out that negative 8, then I get y plus 1. And then I can factor out a 4 there, so that I have 4 there and then negative 2, and then I have y plus 1. So my c is negative 2. So my c is negative 2. And then this side tells us that we're dealing with y out, the y-axis. Okay, and then equating that and that to 0, we get our vertices. Our vertex is going to be at 1 comma negative 1. Okay, so now since we're dealing with the y-axis, it means to get the focus, we are going to add in the y component. So we add the negative 2 here. That's going to just give us our focus to be at 1 comma negative 3. So our focus is at 1 comma negative what? 3. And then to get our directrix, which is in the y this time, instead of adding, we subtract. So we say negative 1 minus the c, which is negative 2. And this gives us negative 1 plus 2, which is going to be 1. So our directrix is just y equal to 1. Okay, the rest is just null about sketching. And then we have that this is going to be, so I write my y-axis there. Okay, and the negative sign tells us that it's going to face in the negative direction that we had when we had completed the square there. So our vertex is at 1. So 1 here, comma negative 1, let's say it's there. So here, that's our vertex. It's facing down. We know from the where we had completed the square, and that negative we got there on the other side. And then our focus is at 1 comma negative 3. Let's say our negative 3 is there. So meaning we'll have our focus there at uh, that is 1 comma negative 3. And then we have going to have our what? So let's say 1 is there, and our directrix is going to be there. That is that y is equal to 1. Okay, so this is how you would sketch parabolas. And those easy steps to follow. Right, let's move on to just another concept, though similar, but looking at the same thing. So here they're telling us to find the equation of the parabola. So in the first case, we have been given 3, 2 to be our vertex, and then we have our focus of 1, 2. So first of all, what do we need to identify? We need to identify what axis we're dealing with. If you're given the vertex and the focus, identify what axis you're dealing with. So we look at the axis, which is what? Which is changing from the vertex to the focus. Which one? Which coordinate is changing? So what's changing is the what? Is the value of x. So x changed from 3 to what? To 1. It changed from 3 to what? To 1. And remember what we were doing? What we are doing is to get there, it means that you said 3 plus what? A c, your c value. And that gave you what? That gave you the 1 which is there. So it means that our c is just going to be 1 minus 3, which is c is equal to what? Negative 2. So I get my c equal to what? To negative 2. That is the value of what? Of my c. Okay, so now after getting this value of c, what next do you need? So since it's in the x, we identify that it's in the x axis that we are dealing with. It means that we have to use the general form of y minus k squared is equal to 4c, and then you have x what minus h, like that. So now we have our vertex here being at 3, 2. So we know that our k is there and our h is there. So that's h, that's k. So I can replace there. I say h, my k is just 2 squared is equal to 4. I found my c to be negative 2. So I have negative 2 there. And then I have x minus my h is just what? It's just 3, like that. Then I can expand. On the left hand side, I just get y squared minus 4y plus 4 is equal to, and then there I'll just have negative 8 x minus what? 3. And this gives me y squared minus 4y plus 4 is equal to negative 8x, and then you have plus 24. Then I bring everything to the left hand side, then I have y squared minus 4y, and then I have plus 4 minus 24 plus 8x equal to 0. So when I subtract there, I get 20. So this is y squared minus 4y. And then I have plus 8x and then minus the 20 equal to 0. So there is what is my equation. So that there is my equation. All right, so let's look at the next one. So the next one here, we're just gonna have our vertex at negative 1, 2 there, and then you have a focus at negative 1, 0. So look at the one which is changing. So that's your vertex, that's your focus. The one that is changing is the what? Is the y-axis, because x there remains not the same. So means that for what they did to get that value, I mean that value, the 0 in their x-coordinate, meaning they added 2 plus your what? Plus your c there to get what? 0. So what that means that my c is just going to be negative what? Negative 2. So I get my c to be negative 2. Then since I'm dealing with the one which is in the y-axis, I know that I'm going to resort to this general form, style the standard form, which is just going to be minus y there. Okay, so I say x. So what is my k? That's h comma k. So my h is negative 1. So I replace there the negative 1 squared and then equal to 4. My c is negative 2 and then you have y. My k is just what? My k is 2 there. So this gives me x plus 1 squared is equal to, multiply there, I get negative 8 y minus 2. Then I can expand this, which gives me x squared plus 2x and then plus 1, like that. And this here is going to be negative 8y and then plus 16. Okay, bring everything to the left-hand side. So I have x squared plus 2x and then plus 1. And that will be minus 16 plus what? 8y equal to 0. So I have x squared plus 2x there, that gives me negative 15. So that'll be plus 8y minus 15 equal to 0. And there is my equation. All right, now let's turn to the other side here on this part. So these are the parts, what do they have? So this time around, we've been given the focus and the what? The directrix. We've been given the focus and the directrix. So it means we need to find the what? The vertices. So we need to find the vertices. So our focus is, for the first one, we have 2, it's at 2, 2, and our directrix is at negative 2. So the fact that we are dealing with x, the directrix is in the x. So it tells us that, oh, we are in the x what? Axis, x-axis. So first of all, we see what did they do for them to get this negative 2 here. So to get the negative 2, they said what? So we know that the general is h comma k. So they said h. So since it's in the x, then minus what? Minus c. Okay, minus c, of which the c we don't know. So our h we do know. So this is how they got what? They got that value for the what? For the directrix, which is just equal to what? Negative 2 in our case. So our h, what is our h? So our h, again, we said our h we do not know because we've just been given the what? The focus there. So since we can't find this directly, the next step then that we're gonna use is to sketch. So we're gonna sketch it, and this is gonna look like this. So what is our focus? So our focus is at 2, what? 2. So if you have the 2 there and a 2 there, so this is where our focus is. So our focus is at 2, 2. So 2, 2 there. And then you have your directrix that is at x, negative 2. So x, negative 2, let's say negative 2 is there. So you have a line passing through that point that is x, what? Negative 2. Okay, now what are we going to do? So your graph always faces the direction where the what? Or your curve is going to always face the direction where your focus is. So meaning that our our graph is going to be what, facing this direction, this side. So you have x there and you have what, y there. Okay, and then we know that the distance between from the directrix to the where the vertex is, and where the from the vertex to where the focus is what, is equal. So meaning that if from there to there it's 2, and from there to there it's 2, meaning that okay, let me say from here to there, the distance that is between the vertex and their focus is a total of 4 units. So meaning that if the distance that is where the vertex is, the vertex has to be in between here. So we just divide this by 2, and we know that it's going to be what, 2 units. So from the vertex to 2 units to the what, to the right, is where my vertex is going to be. And from the focus, 2 units to the left is where it's going to be. So you expect your vertex to be there, like that, since it's in the x-axis. So this here is then going to mean that my vertex is going to just be centered there, that is at 0, what, 2. So I found my vertex, and then my c. So this now will help me get my what, my c. So after finding that's my vertex, and then this is my focus. So what is changing? What is changing, of course, is in the what, is in the y-axis. So meaning that they added 0, that's our vertex, plus what, my c, to get the 2 there. So it means my c is just 2. So my c is 2. All right. Now I use this information that I have gathered here to just what, to sketch. So to sketch, I mean to come up with the what, come up with the equation. So since we're dealing with the equation, we know it's in the x-axis. So we're going to have y minus k squared is equal to, that is 4c x minus what, h. So that would be y minus k, my k is 2. So there are 2, and then you have 4 c, and then you have x, your h is 0. So our c here, you can replace that, our c is 2. So we have 2 there. So this here, expanding the left side, you just get y squared, and then you have minus 4y, then plus 4 is equal to, there you get 8, and then you just have x there. Moving everything to one side, you just get y squared minus 4y plus 4 plus what, minus, in this case, it's going to be negative 8x equal to 0. Okay, so that's going to be your what, equation. All right, let's do the same. Let's follow the same steps for the next one. So the next one now tells us it's y equal to what, your directrix is y is equal to 4. So that should tell us that it's in the what, it's in the, we're dealing with the y. It's going to be in the y-axis. The equation is going to be in the y-axis. So this is going to be at y comma 4. So let's say my 4 is there. So that's going to be my directrix. Okay. So, okay, something like that. So that's your y equal to what, to 4. And then you have your focus at 0, what? 0, 0. So we have a focus there at 0, 0. So half of the distance between here and there, that is going to be what? Where the vertex is. So the vertex meaning is going to be there. So this is at 0, that's 2. Half of that, I just get 2. So meaning the vertex is at 2, no, is at 0, what, 2, 0, 2. Since the x coordinate is 0 there, and then the y coordinate is 1, which is 2. So that's x, that's y, and then it always faces what, towards the direction where the focus is, which is down there. So it's going to be like that. So this tells us that we should get a c, which is what, which is negative. So after getting our vertex at 0, 2, we can now say, okay, we have the focus, which is at 0, 0. So what is changing? That is changing, we're in the y-axis. So meaning that what they did, they said k plus c equal to whatever value of what's there, the focus that you're going to get. Now, in our case, we are getting what, 0. So, and then our k is what? Our k there is 2. So we have 2 there, plus c equal to 0. So our c is equal to what? -2, which confirms from the graph that we needed to get a negative c. So our c is negative what? -2. Okay, then from here, it's just a matter of sketching, of writing out the graph, writing out the equation. So the equation, then, since we said it's in the what? Y axis, so it means it's going to follow the standard. That's x minus h squared is equal to 4c, and then you have y minus k. So x minus, what's our h? Our h is, h there we found is 0. Our h is 0, and then you have squared is equal to 4, and then you have negative what? -2 there, and then you have y minus our k is 2. And then expanding this here just gives us x squared is equal to, there you get -8, and then you have y minus 2, and then you have x squared is equal to, there you get -8y, and then you have there that will be positive 16. Taking everything to the left hand side, you get x squared plus 8y minus 16, which is equal to 0. And just like that, we have found our equation. Well, if you are new, remember to subscribe, and then you can check the link in the bio for discrete learning to find more solutions. Well, this has been Tutor Marius, and I will see you in the next one.